manifestation. The dream doesn't start like other dreams. There's no slow descent into sleep, no gentle crossing of that threshold between waking and rest. One moment you're lying in your bed in a family estate's upper tower, the silk sheets cool against your skin, the night lamp casting amber shadows across the carved ceiling. The next moment, you're falling, not through space, through something else, something that has no name in any language you've been taught. Your eyes snap open, but you're not awake. You're still falling. The darkness around you isn't the darkness of your bedroom. It's alive. It moves with intention. It has weight and hunger and a kind of terrible consciousness that notices you the way a predator notices prey that's wandered into its territory. You try to scream, but your throat closes. Your small lungs can't find air. The thing that isn't quite darkness but isn't quite anything your mind can parse is pressing against you from all directions, and it's looking at you. Not with eyes, with something far older than eyes, something that exists in the spaces between thought. When you finally do scream, it tears open your throat. Your body convulses in the bed. Your spine arches so violently you feel something in your back pop like a breaking stick. The pain is everywhere and nowhere. It's not coming from your body anymore. It's coming from somewhere inside your head, from a place that shouldn't exist, from a space that's opening up behind your forehead like a door swinging wide into a room full of screaming. Your eyes are burning, actually burning. You can smell it, the acrid stench of your own tissue cooking. Your hands fly to your face, and when they come away, they're wet, warm. You're bleeding from your eyes. You don't understand how that's possible. You don't understand anything except that the thing in the darkness is still looking at you, and it's smiling. The servants hear you. They come running. You hear their footsteps pounding down the corridor, hear the frantic shouting, but it's all very far away now. The pain has become so absolute that everything else is just background noise. Your 7-year-old body is shaking so hard, the bed frame is rattling against the stone floor. Your mouth tastes like copper and something else. Something wrong. Like the taste of a color that shouldn't exist. Your mother reaches you first. You know it's her because she smells like the gardens, like the flowers she tends in the morning. She's pulling your hands away from your face, saying your name over and over, her voice cracking. There's real fear in her voice. You've never heard her sound afraid before. That frightens you more than the pain, more than the thing that was looking at you, because mothers aren't supposed to be afraid. Mothers are supposed to fix things. But she can't fix this. The thing in the darkness is still there, even though you're awake now. Even though the servants are lighting every lamp in the room until it's blazing with light, you can still feel it. It's not in the room. It's somewhere else. But it's aware of you. It's aware of what you are. The physicians come. They're trying to stop the bleeding from your eyes, but the blood keeps coming. One of them, a tall man with a scarred face, leans close and looks directly into your eyes, and you see him go pale. He says something quietly to your father, something that makes your father's jaw tighten. Your father doesn't come to hold you. He stands in the corner of the room watching, just watching. The bleeding slows, eventually stops, but the pain in your head doesn't fade. It settles into something almost worse than the acute agony. A deep, throbbing wrongness, like your skull is too small for what's inside it now. Like something has opened that was meant to stay closed. You lie in the dark. They've dimmed the lamps because the light hurts, and you can feel it still. The thing in the not darkness. It's patient. It's waiting. And you understand, with the terrible clarity that only a child in extreme pain can achieve, that it's been waiting for you specifically, that it's been waiting for this. The night stretches. Your mother sits on the edge of your bed, her hand on your forehead. She doesn't speak. There's nothing to say. The household is quiet in that brittle way that means everyone is listening, everyone is afraid, everyone is wondering what happens next. You don't sleep again that night. You won't sleep properly for weeks, but you'll have a lot of time to get used to not sleeping. A lot of time to get used to many things. The thing in the darkness whispers to you in the quiet hours before dawn. It doesn't use words. It uses something older than language. It tells you that you're not like other children. It tells you that you've been chosen. It tells you things about the spaces between stars that your 7-year-old mind can't quite hold on to, but that you'll never quite forget. By the time the sun rises, you understand that your life has already ended. Whatever comes next will be something else entirely. Your mother's hand on your forehead is the last time anyone will touch you with love for a very, very long time. You don't know that yet, but you'll remember this moment. You'll remember it for the next 10,000 years of your bloodline's madness, burning in your mind like a brand. The calling has begun. The calling. The debt. The morning light comes through the high windows of the estate's solar in long golden columns, and dust motes drift through them like they have all your life. You're 7 years old, and you don't yet understand that dust is dead skin, that you're breathing your own decay. You're sitting at the breakfast table with your father, watching him work through correspondence while his recaf grows cold. The cup has a chip on the rim. You've noticed this chip for 3 days now, and you can't stop noticing it. Your father's name is Aurelius Kane. He's a thin man, sharp-featured, with the pale skin of someone who spends his life indoors, reading contracts written in script so small it requires augmentation to parse. The Navigator gene runs in his family like a vein of silver, through marble hidden, precious, and dangerous. He doesn't talk about this. No one in the household talks about this, but you've heard the servants whisper it. Kane blood, Navigator blood. The words make them nervous. You're eating bread with honey. The honey is very good today. You're thinking about how the honey tastes, about nothing else, because your head still hurts from last night, not a normal hurt. A hurt that lives behind your eyes and feels like something trying to claw its way out from the inside of your skull. The knock on the solar door is formal, precise. Not the knock of a servant. Your father's hand stills on his correspondence. The chip on his recaf cup catches the light. "Enter," he says, and his voice is different now. Flatter. You look at him and his jaw has tightened. They come through the door like the room has suddenly become smaller. 3 of them. 2 in black uniforms you don't recognize. Severe, cut from some synthetic material that doesn't move quite right, as if the fabric is slightly out of phase with normal reality. Their faces are augmented, smooth, incomplete. You'll later understand they're servitors, biological machines, barely more than puppets animated by imperial conditioning and neural implants. But now they're just wrong in a way you can't articulate. You stop eating the bread. The 3rd one is a woman. She's older than your father by at least 20 years, and her robes are deep crimson with gold threading that catches light like it's generating its own illumination. There's a symbol on her chest, a stylized eye with 3 pupils. She wears it like authority. She wears it like she owns the air around her. Your father stands. "Navigator Kane," the woman says, and her voice is cultured, educated, carrying the accent of someone raised in the upper tiers of a hive city. "I am Prioress Castellan of the Navis Nobilite. I trust you are informed of our coming." "I received notice," your father says. His hand has moved to grip the back of his chair. His knuckles are white, though not the purpose. The prioress moves into the solar with the slow, deliberate grace of something that knows exactly how much space it occupies. She doesn't sit. She stands at the head of the table like she's always belonged there. One of the servitors takes position by the door, The other moves toward you, and your breath catches because it's moving toward you, and you don't understand why. "Your son," the prioress says. "She's looking at you now." Her eyes are normal human eyes, but there's something else in them, a depth that doesn't match the space behind them. "Aurelius, isn't it?" 7 years old, born during the conjunction of Cadia and the Astronomican's peak resonance. Your father doesn't answer. The servitor is close enough now that you can smell it, something like ozone and chemicals, and underneath that, something organic that's starting to decay. It reaches out one pale, elongated hand toward your face, and you flinch backward, your chair scraping against the stone floor. "The child's reaction is optimal," the prioress observes. Sensitivity to the immaterial is already expressing itself. "He had a fever last night," your father says, and his voice is tight. "Controlled. Nothing more. Childhood illness. It passed." "Aurelius." The prioress's voice carries a note of something that might be pity, if pity could be weaponized. "We have the report from your household medicae." Third eye development. Spontaneous warp manifestation. The child experienced a vision episode, screaming, hemorrhage from the ocular cavities, temporal disassociation lasting 6 hours. You remember this. You remember screaming. You remember your mother's hands on your face, trying to hold you together as something vast and terrible opened behind your eyes like a mouth. You remember your father standing in the doorway, his face white, watching. You remember the blood on your pillowcase looked black in the darkness. "He's a child," your father says. "The Navigator gift is genetic predisposition. It doesn't manifest until it does," the prioress interrupts. The Navi's Nobilite's instruments detected a warp resonance emanating from this estate approximately 14 hours ago. Class 7 sensitivity. Your son is already touching the immaterium, already hearing it. Another few days of uncontrolled manifestation and the contact will sever his sanity entirely. Or worse, he'll open himself fully and something will answer. The servitor is still reaching toward you. Your father moves, fast, sudden, and places himself between you and the machine. The motion is protective, and it's also futile, and everyone in the room knows it. There are treatments, your father says. Suppressants. Neural locks. I can have them administered. There are no treatments, the prioress says flatly. There is only service. The Navigator gene is not a gift, Aurelius. It is a debt. Your bloodline has been using the Imperium's infrastructure for 300 years. The Golden Path doesn't walk itself. Children don't guide ships through the warp out of charity. Your son is payment for what your family has received. The word payment hangs in the air like something solid. He's 7 years old, your father says, and there's something breaking in his voice now, something that sounds like it's been held together very carefully for a very long time. The Scholastia takes them from 6 onward, the prioress says. Earlier is sometimes better. The older they are, the more they remember, the more they grieve. You should be grateful he's old enough to understand. Za calling, separation. The morning light through the estate's high windows is the color of old amber. You remember this detail with perfect clarity, the way the dust moves through those beams, lazy and golden, as if time itself moves differently here. As if this morning is not the last morning of your life as you understand it. Your mother's hands are cold. They've been cold since the prioress arrives 3 days ago, since your father locked himself in the study and didn't emerge until the servants brought him out. Your mother hasn't cried. You've been waiting for her to cry, the way she did when your sister was born with the withered arm, but her eyes remain dry. This frightens you more than anything else. Stand still, she says, and her voice is steady in a way that sounds like glass about to break. She's dressed you in the gray robes they provided, simple, severe, nothing like the soft linens you wore before. The fabric itches. Everything itches now. Your skin feels too tight, as though something underneath is trying to push out. She touches your face, both hands, cupping your cheeks the way she has since you were small enough to fit in her palms. Her thumbs brush across her cheekbones. She's memorizing you. You understand this without being told. She's trying to fit you into her hands one last time, trying to make you small enough to keep. Your father's bloodline, she begins, then stops, starts again. The Navis Nobilite serves the Imperium. It's an honor. You'll understand when you're older. You won't understand. You already know this. You're 7 years old and you can feel the lie in her voice, the way you felt the thing in your head 3 nights ago. That terrible burning presence that woke you screaming, that made your eyes water blood onto the pillow. That made the servants come running with cloths and worried faces and whispered prayers to the Emperor. "Will you come with me?" you ask. Her hands tighten fractionally on your face. "No, my love." "No, I won't." The black ship waits in the courtyard. You've never seen anything like it. Not truly. The family estate is vast, built across generations of Navigator wealth, but this vessel dwarfs even the main house. It's a wedge of dark metal, all sharp angles and no windows you can see, and there are things moving around it that aren't quite human. Tall. Thin. Their movements are wrong. Joints bending in ways that make your stomach turn. Servitors. You heard the prioress use the word. You don't know what it means, only that they're here to collect you. Your father stands at the edge of the courtyard, his jaw clenched so tight you can see the muscle working beneath his skin. He hasn't looked at you since breakfast. There's a man in black robes beside him. The prioress's attendant, you think, or perhaps something worse. His face is a mask of bureaucratic indifference. He's checking a ledger. You're on a ledger now, an item to be transferred. Your mother walks with you to the threshold of the courtyard. Her hand never leaves your shoulder, and you can feel it shaking. One of the servitors moves toward you. It's skeletal beneath its gray robes, and where its face should be, there's something mechanical, ports and apertures and things that don't blink. It extends a limb that might be an arm. The fingers are too long. The movements are too smooth, as though the thing inside isn't quite sure how many joints it's supposed to have. "The Navigator initiate," it says. Its voice is a sound like grinding stone. Transfer confirmed. Destination, Scholastia Navis, Holy Terra, departure in moments. Your mother's hand grips your shoulder so hard it hurts. "Don't let them take the light from you," she whispers. You don't know what she means. You'll think about this sentence for the next 10,000 years. You'll never understand it. The servitor's fingers close around your wrist. The sensation is like being held by something that's never quite learned what flesh is supposed to feel like. Too cold, too precise, clinical. It's not painful, but it's profoundly wrong. Every instinct in your body screams to pull away. You don't. You're already learning what you have to learn. Compliance. Acceptance. The crushing weight of inevitability. Your mother's hand slides away from your shoulder. You feel the moment she releases you like a small death, the warmth of her touch gone, replaced by the clinical grip of the servitor. She doesn't step back, though. She stands at the threshold, watching. "I love you," she says. Her voice is very small. The servitor pulls you toward the ship's ramp. You try to turn to look at her, but the thing's grip is implacable. You manage one glance back. Her face is still dry, but her mouth is open slightly, as though she's about to scream and has simply forgotten how. "Your father hasn't moved!" He's looking at the ledger the attendant is showing him. Checking off boxes. Confirming receipt. The ramp of the black ship opens like a mouth. The interior is darkness, absolute, not merely the absence of light, but something that seems to swallow it. You can smell it from here, that darkness. It smells like static electricity, and something organic that's been left in a sealed room too long. The servitor carries you up the ramp in 3 long, jerking strides. Behind you, the courtyard shrinks. Your mother shrinks. The morning light shrinks. Then the ramp closes with a hiss like something dying. The darkness is complete. It's suffocating. You open your mouth to scream, but the servitor's other hand, you didn't know it had another hand, clamps over your mouth, not cruelly, just efficiently. It guides you deeper into the ship's hold with the same clinical precision it used to grip your wrist. Your eyes adjust by degrees. There's a faint phosphorescence bleeding from somewhere. Perhaps the servitor itself. Perhaps something in the walls. Gradually, the hold resolves into shapes. Pods. Hundreds of them, arranged in neat rows that stretch impossibly far into the distance. Each one is transparent, filled with a thick amber liquid. Inside each one is a child. They're suspended like insects in resin, their small bodies motionless, their eyes closed. Most of them look peaceful. But some of them, the ones closest to you, you can see the faint outline of a V calling, the hold third eye. A vertical seam in the forehead, barely more than a slit, but it's there. Opening, like a mouth learning to breathe. You turn away. Your stomach convulses, but there's nothing in it. They haven't fed you since the ship left the atmosphere. The servitor's grip tightens fractionally. A correction, not quite pain. It guides you forward between the rows. The amber liquid inside the pods is warm. You can feel it radiating, not heat exactly, but something else. A thrumming. It makes your teeth ache. Your own third eye pulses in response, a phantom sensation in your forehead, and for a moment you can almost see through it. Almost. The image fragments before it forms, something vast, something watching, something hungry. You clench your eyes shut. The servitor walks you deeper into the hold. The pods are numbered. You catch glimpses as you pass, 0847, 0903, 1156. The numbers climb higher. You don't want to know how many there are. You don't want to think about what this means. Hundreds of children, suspended, waiting. For what? Your father's face flashes in your mind, that moment when the Navi's Nobilite representatives explained what they'd come to collect, the way his jaw tightened, the way he wouldn't meet your eyes. A debt, they'd said. Bloodline obligation. The gene must be cultivated. The gift must be trained. Your mother had held your face between her palms, and you'd felt her hands shaking. She didn't say goodbye. She just pressed her forehead to yours and breathed. And then the servitors had come with their metal fingers and their absolute certainty, and the chamber doors had sealed. And she was gone. Now you're here, in this cathedral of amber and suspended flesh. A sound reaches you, thin, distant, like a child crying through water. You look toward the nearest pod. The girl inside can't be more than 5. Her mouth is open. Her lips move soundlessly. Her third eye is wider than yours, the vertical seam gaping like a wound that won't close. Inside that opening, something glimmers, something that's not quite the color of the amber fluid. Something looking back. You wrench your gaze away. The servitor continues its methodical walk. More pods. More children. Some of them are older, 10, 12, maybe older. Those ones have third eyes that are fully open, black pupils in the center, and you can feel them even when you're not looking. The pressure in the air changes as you pass each one. The thrumming in your teeth gets worse. It's like walking through a gallery of things that shouldn't be alive but are. Things that shouldn't be conscious but are. One boy, he can't be more than 8, his eyes snap open as you pass. Not his regular eyes. His third eye. It opens like a flower blooming in fast motion, and for one shattering instant you feel him seeing you. You. Really seeing you. Across the amber, across the metal of the pod, across whatever distance separates you. He sees into you, and you see into him, and there's a moment of perfect, terrible understanding. He knows what's coming. He knows what they're going to do, and he's terrified. Then the servitor's pace quickens, and the pod slides past, and the connection snaps like a thread. Your legs feel weak. The servitor's grip is the only thing keeping you upright. The hold goes on. And on. The rows of pods seem to multiply the deeper you go, or maybe your mind is playing tricks. Maybe the hold is bigger than it should be. Maybe the space is bending. You've heard stories, not many, your family doesn't talk about these things, but you've heard things. Whispers between servants. Fragments of conversations your parents thought you were asleep for, something about how the Navi's Nobilites' ships aren't quite right, how space works differently inside them, how you can walk for hours and cover only minutes of distance, or walk for minutes and cover hours. You're starting to believe it. The phosphorescence from the servitor flickers. In that moment of dimness, you see something else. A larger pod, central. Raised on a platform. The child inside is older than the others, maybe your age, maybe older. Their third eye is massive. It takes up almost a quarter of their forehead, the pupil so dark it looks like a hole into nothing. The amber around this pod is a different shade, darker. And the child inside isn't suspended in the same motionless way as the others. This child is moving, slowly. Deliberately. Their fingers are pressed against the inside of the glass, leaving trails in the condensation. They're awake. The servitor stops. You don't remember deciding to stop. Your body just halts, and the servitor doesn't pull you forward. It simply stands there holding you, as if it's waiting for something. The noise in the hold changes. The thrumming in your teeth becomes a roar. It's not a sound anymore. It's pressure, weight, presence. It's like something massive has turned its attention toward you, and now it's pushing down, down, down. Your third eye burns. You scream. It's not a sound you recognize. It's not a child's scream. It's something older, rawer, something that shouldn't come out of a 7-year-old's throat. Blood runs hot down your face, down your neck, soaking into the white robes they dressed you in. It pools in the hollow of your collarbone. The servitor's grip doesn't change. It doesn't comfort. It doesn't react. It simply holds you upright while you convulse and bleed and feel something vast and terrible and curious, pressing against the inside of your mind like a hand against glass. The older child's eyes, both sets, remain fixed on you. Then, gradually, the pressure releases. The thrumming fades to a tolerable ache. The sensation of being observed withdraws, but only slightly. Only enough that you can breathe. Only enough that the world comes back into focus. The servitor resumes its walk. You don't remember moving, but you're moving. The larger pod slides behind you. The regular rows resume. Hundreds of children in amber. Hundreds of third eyes, most of them closed, some of them opening, all of them waiting. You don't know what they're waiting for yet. You don't know that in a few hours, you'll be placed in an initiation into darkness. The amber drains. That's the first thing you're aware of, not waking, because waking implies a before and an after, a moment of transition. This is something else. The liquid that sustained you for however long it's been. Days? Months? Your mind can't hold time in a way that makes sense, pulls away from your skin like a living thing recoiling. You're aware of your body as a collection of violations. Every nerve ending screams. Your lungs aren't yours anymore. They belong to something that's learning to use them for the first time. You cough. The fluid tastes like copper and burnt circuits. Hands grab you. Servor-moored hands, you realize through the fog of agony. Not hands. Appendages. The servitors that retrieved you from the black ship move with mechanical precision, their fingers articulated wrong, bending in ways that make your primitive brain scream that this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, but your body is too weak to resist. They peel the nutrient tubes from your arms, and each withdrawal feels like they're taking pieces of you with them. Your vision is wrong. You have too many eyes. No, that's not right. You have 3 now, and the third one doesn't work. It sits in your forehead like a tumor, sealed shut, and it's gracious in a way that makes the physical pain of your body seem quaint, a minor inconvenience compared to the wrongness of that closed eye. The servitors place you on a cold metal table. Restraints slide around your wrists and ankles with pneumatic hisses. You're not restrained, you realize. You're positioned. The distinction matters, though you're not sure why. Your mind is still fragmenting, still trying to reintegrate after weeks of suspension, of existing in a state between alive and not alive. A figure materializes above you. Old. Older than old. The face is a landscape of scars and surgical modifications. The left side of his head bulges slightly, the skin stretched tight over something that shouldn't be there. His eyes are completely black. Both of them. "You're awake," he says. His voice sounds like it's coming from very far away, even though his mouth is close enough that you can feel the warmth of his breath.
"That's good."
The ones who stay asleep longer tend to scream less effectively during the opening. Less vocal capacity. You'll want your vocal capacity for what comes next. You try to speak. Your throat produces only a sound, like wind through a broken building. "Don't," he says, and his hand, a real hand, you notice with strange relief, reaches down and touches your forehead. His fingers are ice. "Save that. I'm Navigator Cassius. I was like you once. 7 years old when they came for me. 43 years old when they cut me open." He pauses. "I'm 217 years old now. You'll be older than that." The warp doesn't let us die easily. The servitors move. You hear the sound of instruments being arranged on a metal tray. Surgical implements. The thought should terrify you. It does terrify you. But the terror is distant, like something happening to someone else, to someone you knew a long time ago in a place that no longer exists. Cassius leans back. You can see his modified eye sockets now, the way they've been enlarged, reinforced with what looks like ceramite. The third eye needs to be opened. It's already beginning to form. You felt that in the ship, I'm sure. The pressure, the sense of something trying to bloom behind your forehead. That's your navigator's sight trying to break through. We're just facilitating the process. He nods to the servitors. One of them produces a long, thin instrument, not a scalpel, something more specialized. Something designed specifically for what's about to happen. "We don't use anesthetic," Cassius continues, and there's an almost conversational tone to his voice, as if he's discussing the weather. "The pain is necessary. Your nervous system needs to understand what it's about to experience. Pain is the only language the warp respects. Pain is how you'll survive the first translation." The instrument approaches your forehead. You can see your own reflection in its polished tip. A child's face, gaunt from suspension, eyes too wide, mouth open in a silent scream that your paralyzed throat can't quite produce. Then the instrument touches the skin between your eyes. It doesn't cut. Not at first. It probes, finding the precise angle, the exact point where the sealed eye lies beneath the surface. You feel it moving, mapping the territory beneath your skin like a cartographer charting unknown lands. The sensation is wrong in a way that makes you understand for the first time that wrong has degrees. This is a new level of wrong. The first cut is almost gentle. The second cut is not. Your scream starts somewhere in your chest and travels up through your throat and out of your mouth, and it doesn't stop. It shouldn't be able to continue for this long. Your lungs should empty. Your voice should break. But it doesn't. The pain has opened a door inside you, and everything you are is pouring out through that door in the form of sound. Cassius watches with an expression that might be sympathy. It might also be indifference. You can't tell anymore. Your perception is starting to fragment, to scatter like light through a prism. The instrument widens the incision. You feel the skin pulling back, peeling away like flower petals, and the sensation of exposure is almost worse than the pain. You're being opened. You're being unmade and remade in real time. Your third eye is still closed, still sealed, but now it's exposed to air and light and the terrible reality of the world outside your skull. It's almost through, Cassius says. The membrane is thin. Another moment. Your vision starts to tunnel. The pain has become so overwhelming that your consciousness is beginning to reject it, to fragment into pieces that exist in slightly different dimensions. You can see yourself from outside your body. You can see Cassius from above, from below, from angles that don't make geometric sense. The room is multiplying. There are dozens of rooms overlaid on top of each other, each one slightly different, and you're dying in all of them simultaneously. The instrument reaches something. You feel it. A change in resistance, a moment where the tool encounters something that's not skin, not muscle, not bone. Something else. Something that's been waiting inside you since birth, since conception, since before you were ever born. The warp opens. The recovery chamber smells like copper and burned meat. Your own burned meat. You don't remember how you got here, only that you're lying on something that isn't quite a bed, more like a steel table with grooves cut into it. Drainage channels. You try to move and find you can't. Not paralyzed, just too broken. Every nerve ending is screaming a frequency that stopped being sound 3 days ago. Time doesn't work right anymore. You think it's been 3 days. Could be 3 hours. Could be 3 weeks. The Scholastia's lighting never changes. That same corpse-pale glow that comes from nowhere and casts no shadows, so you have no way to measure anything except pain, and pain is infinite. A figure enters. You know it's Cassius before your eyes focus on him. You can feel him the way you feel, the weight of the air now, the way you feel the warp pressing against the thin membrane of reality, even here, even in the sealed chamber deep beneath Terra's surface. Cassius is tall, impossibly tall. Or maybe you're still partially sideways in your perception, and his height is just a side effect of seeing him from too many angles at once. His third eye is closed. You can see the scar tissue around it. Not like yours, raw and bleeding and still learning how to exist, but smooth, ancient, integrated into his face so completely that you're not sure where his skin ends and the eye begins. He says nothing. He never says much. The Scholastia runs on instruction through pain and observation through suffering. Words are inefficient. He's holding something. A chair. He sets it down across from you. The metal legs scrape against the stone floor, and the sound goes through you like a knife. Every sound is a knife now. Every vibration is a scream. He sits. You're ready, he says. Not a question. You try to speak. Your throat produces something that isn't language. It's closer to the sound an animal makes when it's being slaughtered, when it knows there's no escape and its body is just venting whatever pressure has built up inside. Your eye is open, Cassius continues. That's the first part, the physical mutilation. You've survived that. Most don't. He pauses. His own third eye remains sealed. The second part is harder. This is where we find out if you're actually a navigator or just a child with a genetic anomaly that happened to survive surgery. Your vision. All three of your visions, the two old ones and the new one that sees in directions that shouldn't exist, begins to stabilize slightly. The multiple versions of Cassius start to overlap, collapsing down into something approaching a single image. It's not better. It's worse. Because now you can see his face clearly, and his face is wrong. Not wrong in the way that an injury is wrong. Wrong in the way that a statue is wrong if you stare at it long enough and realize that the proportions were designed by something that doesn't think in human mathematics. I'm going to show you the warp, Cassius says. Not through the golden path, not through the meditative disciplines they've been teaching you, not filtered through training wheels and safety protocols. He leans forward. I'm going to show you what you actually are, what your bloodline actually sees, what every navigator has been seeing since the first human stepped into the void and tried to navigate the impossible. Something in his voice makes you want to run. Your body won't cooperate. It's still too broken. So you lie there, and you watch him stand, and you watch him move to the side of the table you're on, and you watch his hand come down towards your face. His fingers are cold, ice cold, like they've been dipped in liquid nitrogen. They touch the skin around your third eye, the new eye, the one that's still bleeding, still raw, still learning how to process the flood of sensory information that it's receiving from dimensions that have no names. Look at me, Cassius says. You're already looking at him. You have no choice. Your eyes can't move anymore. The muscles controlling them are too damaged. Look deeper. And then he does something. You don't have words for it. It's not magic. The Scholastia doesn't teach magic. It teaches technique. It teaches how to interface with the immaterium through will and bloodline and an understanding of geometry that exists in more than 3 dimensions. But what Cassius does feels like magic because you have no framework for understanding it. He opens his third eye. It's not like opening a regular eye. There's no lid. There's no eyelash. There's just a moment where the space around his face changes, where something that was closed becomes open, and the thing that was hidden becomes visible, and your mind tries to process what you're seeing and fails so completely that your consciousness fractures. You see the warp. Not a symbol of the warp, not a representation or a metaphor or a filtered image designed to be survivable. You see the actual warp. The thing underneath reality. The thing that exists in the spaces between spaces, in the moments between moments, in the thoughts that haven't been thought yet, and the screams that have already echoed into infinity. It's not one thing. It's everything. It's a storm and an ocean and a living thing and a dead thing, and a thing that's never been alive but is somehow conscious anyway. It's colors that don't have names because human eyes were never supposed to see them. It's moving in directions that your brain doesn't have neural pathways for. It's screaming. It's always screaming. The scream is the only constant. The screen is underneath everything. And it sees you. That's the part that breaks you. Not the visual input, not the sensory overload. Not the way your consciousness is being torn apart by exposure to something that's fundamentally hostile to human existence. It's the moment when you realize that the warp is aware of you. That's something in there. Or everything in there has noticed that you're looking, and it's looking back, and it's interested, and it's hungry, and it's curious about what you taste like and what your fear sounds like, and whether your screams have a frequency that it can use as a tool. You vomit. It comes up in a spray of black bile that doesn't look like anything that should come out of a human body. It's thick. It's viscous. It seems to move with its own intention, like it's trying to crawl away from you, even as it's leaving your mouth. The smell is wrong. Not the smell of stomach acid and partially digested nutrients, but the golden path. The meditation chamber smells like copper and ozone and something older, something that predates the Imperium itself. You kneel on cold stone worn smooth by 10,000 initiates before you, most of them dead now. The stone is slick. You realize it's not water. Cassius stands behind you. You can't see him, but you feel the weight of his presence like gravity pressing down on your shoulders. He hasn't spoken in 3 days. None of the mentors have. Speech is a mercy they don't grant here. The golden path is not a path you walk. His voice comes now, dry as cremated bone. It is a path that walks through you. Your body is merely the channel. Your mind is the instrument. Your will is the only thing that matters, and your will is already broken. He's not wrong. You've been here for what feels like years, but the chronometer on the wall says 17 days. The chamber cycles through light and darkness on a rhythm that doesn't match any natural cycle you've ever known. You sleep when you can. You wake when the pain becomes too much to sleep through. The line between the two has blurred into something that isn't quite either. There are 6 other initiates in this cohort. Yesterday, there were 8. You didn't see what happened to them. Cassius simply said they had failed to maintain coherence, and their meditation pods were removed during the night cycle. You heard the wet sounds of something being dragged across stone? You chose not to look. Begin, Cassius says. You close your eyes. Your third eye opens. The surgically carved socket in your forehead, still raw, still leaking clear fluid that burns like acid. The pain is a constant now. It's become the baseline of existence. Anything else feels like relief. The golden path spreads before you like a river of light suspended in absolute darkness. It's beautiful in a way that makes your teeth ache. It's the route through the warp that keeps ships from being torn apart by currents of pure chaos. It's mathematics and prayer and something that has no name in any language the Imperium recognizes. It's the only thing standing between Terra and the void. And you have to hold it. You have to be it. Your consciousness reaches out toward the light and immediately something grabs you. It's not pain. Pain is something you understand now. Pain has edges and boundaries. This is different. This is dissolution. This is the feeling of your mind being pulled in directions that minds shouldn't bend. Your awareness fractures across 7 different angles of existence simultaneously, and each fragment is screaming in a voice that isn't your own. Your body goes rigid. Your fingers claw at the stone beneath you, and you feel nails breaking, feel blood starting to seep from under them. The blood is wrong too. Too dark, too thick. It pools around your hands and doesn't spread like normal blood. It moves against gravity. The path wants to show you something. It's pulling at the edges of your consciousness, trying to drag you deeper. You can feel the hunger of it, the vast and patient hunger of something that has been waiting for someone like you for a very long time. No, you think. No, I'm still here. I'm still. Your nose explodes with pressure. Blood runs hot down your face and into your mouth, and you taste copper and iron and something that tastes like the color purple sounds. Your ears are bleeding too. You can feel it trickling down your neck, warm and wrong. Don't fight it, Cassius says from somewhere very far away. The path doesn't respond to resistance. It responds to acceptance. Die to yourself. Let it flow through the corpse of what you were. You want to scream. You try to scream. What comes out is something between a howl and the sound of metal tearing. Your vocal cords aren't functioning properly anymore. Nothing is functioning properly. Your body is a machine running on fuel. It was never designed to burn, and the engine is beginning to seize. The other initiates are silent around you. You can hear their breathing, ragged, desperate. One of them is crying. Another is praying in a language that might be High Gothic or might be something older. The sound of it makes your skin crawl because you understand it perfectly and you shouldn't be able to. Your heart is beating wrong, not fast, irregular, like it's forgetting how to maintain rhythm, like it's trying to synchronize with something else, something vast and patient that exists in the spaces between heartbeats. You press your palm against your chest and you can feel it stuttering beneath your ribs, and you think, "This is how I die. This is how they all die. This is what the Scholastia is really for." The path shows you something then, a fragment of understanding that isn't yours and never will be. It's a ship. Your ship, maybe, or a ship you'll serve on, or a ship that will serve you. The perspective is wrong. You're seeing it from inside the warp itself, from outside time and space, from a vantage point the human eyes were never meant to comprehend. The ship is beautiful and terrible, and it's screaming silently, and there are things pressing against the hull from the outside, and you pull back. You don't know how. You don't think you did it consciously. Your mind just rejects the vision the way a body rejects poison. The connection snaps like a physical thing and you fall backward, gasping, your entire body convulsing. Cassius is there. He catches you before your head cracks against the stone. His hands are cold and his grip is gentle, and there's something almost like compassion in his voice when he says, "You survived longer than most." That's something. You can't speak. Your throat is full of blood. Your third eye is weeping, fluid that burns like caustic. Your entire body is trembling with the aftershock of touching something that the human brain was never meant to comprehend. "Rest," Cassius says. "You have 6 hours. Then we begin again." He lays you down on the stone. You can feel the warmth of your own blood spreading beneath you. Somewhere nearby, one of the other initiates begins to scream, not from pain. You've learned to recognize pain. Screams. This is different. This is the sound of a mind that has finally broken under a weight it was never designed to carry. Cassius doesn't move toward them. None of the mentors do. They simply wait, watching, until the screaming stops. It takes less than 3 minutes. By tomorrow, that meditation pod will be empty. You close your eyes. Your third eye remains open, staring into the darkness, and the calling of the void. Your third eye opens first, not metaphorically, not spiritually. It splits the skin of your forehead like something alive and desperate to breathe, and the pain is so complete, so absolute, that your body convulses before your mind even registers what's happening. You're on the meditation platform. You remember the platform, remember Cassius's voice telling you to sit still, to center yourself, to prepare, and then there is only the sensation of tissue parting, bone grinding, something unfolding in the center of your skull that should not exist in three-dimensional space. The anesthetic wore off 6 hours ago. They told you it would. They told you many things before the surgery, back when you could still think in linear sentences, back when you were still mostly yourself. Your vision fractures. Suddenly you see the meditation chamber in triplicate, the same stone walls, the same vaulted ceiling with its golden iconography, but layered atop each other like images printed on glass sheets stacked too close. One view is normal. One is too bright, colors bleeding into ultraviolet that should not exist. One is something else entirely, something that makes your brain itch with wrongness. That's the warp site. That's what they've opened in your skull. Cassius sits across from you, his own third eye, a terrible scar in the center of his face. It's been opened so long that the tissue has grown over it in places, leaving it half-lidded, ancient. He's watching you with all 3 of his eyes now, and the attention of that third gaze is like standing too close to a fire. "Stop fighting it," he says. His voice comes from one direction in normal space and three others in the warp site, echoing off surfaces that don't exist. You're making it worse. You can't stop fighting it. Your body is a single muscle clenched around the violation of your skull. Blood runs down your face. You can taste it, copper and salt, and you're making sounds, animal sounds, because language hasn't been invented for what's happening to you. The pain is information, Cassius continues, and there's something almost kind in his tone, which somehow makes it worse. Your mind is learning to process more dimensions than it was built for. Your flesh is screaming because it's right to scream, but you must listen past the screaming. Listen to what the warp is trying to tell you. You don't want to listen. You want to claw out the new eye, want to dig it from your skull and throw it across the chamber. Your hands are already moving, already reaching for your face, when Cassius leans forward and grabs your wrists. His grip is impossibly strong. His skin is cold. If you damage the third eye, he says, we'll have to open it again. And next time, we won't use anesthetic at all. You believe him? Your hands fall back to your lap. Your breathing comes in short, sharp gasps. The blood continues to flow. Somewhere in the chamber, you hear other initiates. There are always other initiates. And some of them are crying, and some of them are praying to the Emperor, and some of them are simply making noise because noise is the only response their bodies can produce to what's being done to them. Now, Cassius says, and he releases your wrists. We begin your training. 3 days pass. You think they're 3 days. Time has become unreliable. They bring you to a chamber you've never seen before, deep in the Scholastia's lower levels, where the air tastes like ozone and machine oil and something else, something organic that's been dead for a very long time. The chamber is circular, and the walls are covered in glass panels, and behind those panels you can see things moving, swirling. Shapes that don't quite resolve into anything you can name. That's the warp, contained, trapped behind reinforced glass and held back by machines that hum with a frequency that makes your teeth ache. Cassius brings you to the center of the chamber. There's a chair there. It's not a normal chair. The armrests have restraints, and there are electrodes attached to the headrest, and there's a cup beneath it that you realize, with a sickening drop in your stomach, is for waste. You're going to look at it, Cassius says. Really look at it, not with your normal eyes, with your third eye, with the part of you that can perceive the immaterium. No, you say. Your voice is hoarse. You've been screaming, on and off, for 3 days. No, I can't. I'm not ready. I'm not. You're not ready, Cassius agrees. You'll never be ready. That's the point. The servitors come then, not human, never human, their bodies augmented with so much machinery that you can barely tell what they once were. They're efficient. They don't hurt you, exactly, but they don't need to. You're so weak from pain and blood loss and the constant assault on your nervous system that they simply pick you up and place you in the chair, and your body doesn't have the strength to resist. The restraints lock with a soft click. Cassius stands in front of you, his third eye open and focused, and he places his hand on your forehead. His touch is burning cold. Open your third eye completely, he says. Don't just let it see. Let it understand. Let it drink in everything the warp has to show you. Don't filter it. Don't protect yourself. Open. You want to refuse. You want to close your eyes, all 3 of them, and retreat into yourself. But you can feel Cassius's will pressing against your mind, and you can feel the warp behind the glass, pressing from the other side, and you're caught between 2 forces that are infinitely more powerful than you are. So you open. The first thing you perceive is wrongness, not evil, not chaos, just wrongness, a complete and utter violation of every law that should govern reality. The warp doesn't exist in 3 dimensions. It doesn't exist in 4 or 5 or any number that your brain can count to. It exists in all of them simultaneously, and in none of them, and in directions that don't have names, because language was invented by creatures who live in linear space and linear time. Your consciousness splinters trying to process it. You see colors that have no names. You see sounds that taste like copper and burn like acid. The long voyage. The Emperor's judgment is your tomb and your throne, and you've been dead inside it for 40 years. You don't remember the day you first stepped aboard. The Scholastia took that memory, or the warp did, or you simply never had it to begin with. What you have instead is the feeling of arrival, the sense of descent. The moment the ship's artificial gravity caught you and you understood you would never leave this place while it still flew, that was your first day. That was also 40 years ago. Time moves differently for you now. The Navigator's chamber sits at the heart of the Emperor's judgment, like a cancerous growth. It's a sphere within a sphere, within a sphere, each layer insulated from the last by blessed oils and null fields and prayers written in languages older than the Imperium. You sit in the center of it all, suspended in a gel that keeps your flesh from rotting, while your mind does the real work. The gel smells like copper and preservative. It tastes like copper and preservative. After 40 years, you can barely distinguish between the two. Your third eye has learned to see in ways that shouldn't be possible. It has learned to navigate the golden path, that thin, razor-thin channel of relative stability through the immaterium, where ships can travel without being torn apart by forces that predate the Emperor himself. Your eye has become so attuned to it that you can sense the path in your sleep, in the moments between heartbeats, in the spaces where your own consciousness fragments and reassembles. The crew calls you the voice of the judgment. They don't call you this to your face. You've heard them through the voxcasters, through the speaking tubes, through the nervous laughter of junior officers who think the Navigator's chamber is too far away to hear. It is not. You hear everything now. You hear the ship's heartbeat in the thrumming of the plasma reactors. You hear the prayers of the Adeptus Mechanicus as they sing to the machine's spirits. You hear the desperate whispers of the Raidens as they contemplate the void beyond the hull and wonder if it might be kinder than the life they have aboard this vessel. 40 years. That's how long you've guided the Emperor's judgment through the hostile territories at the Cadian Gate's eastern flank. 40 years of the same routes, the same translations, the same moment of agony as you push your consciousness through the warp and pull the ship after you like a child dragging a toy on a string. 40 years of watching the crew age. Captain Vex was young when you first came aboard. You remember his face? Or you remember remembering his face? Or perhaps the gel is feeding you false memories and you've never actually seen him at all. But you know he had dark hair and a scar along his left temple and hands that trembled slightly before each translation. You know this because you've guided him through 317 jumps, and in each one you felt his fear bleeding through the Vox link as you entered the Immaterium. Captain Vex died 7 years ago. His replacement was his daughter, Captain Vex Minor, though they didn't call her that. They called her Captain Karna. She had her father's scar, or a similar one, or perhaps you're confusing all the captains together now because 40 years is long enough that faces blur into composite images in your mind. She guided the ship well. She trusted your guidance through the warp. She was afraid, but less afraid than her father had been. Captain Karna died 2 years ago. You don't know why. The ship's voxcasters don't carry information down to the Navigator's chamber unless it concerns the next translation. You simply noticed one day that the voice in your ear was different, younger, less steady, with an accent that suggested he'd been born in the lower decks rather than in the officers' quarters. The new captain has a name. You don't remember what it is. The crew ages. The ship doesn't. The Emperor's judgment was ancient when you came aboard, and it remains ancient, held in a state of perfect stasis by the Adeptus Mechanicus and their understanding of technologies that predate human language. The ship's hull is the same. The reactor's hum is the same. The smell of recycled air and ozone and the faint copper taste of irradiated water is the same. But the crew changes. Ratings grow old and are transferred or simply die in the corridors, their bodies taken to the void. Officers retire or go mad or suffer the small failures that happen to human flesh when it's exposed to the radiation and stress of deep space for too long. The Navigator's apprentices come and go. You've trained 7 of them in 40 years. Only 2 survived to full Navigator status. The others? You don't think about the others. The gel keeps you from thinking about most things. It's a mercy, you think. Or it's a curse. The distinction has become meaningless. Your second apprentice was named KL. You remember him because he was the only one who ever asked you if the warp whispered to you when you weren't working. He was young, 23 maybe, or maybe younger. Time is difficult to measure in the Scholastia, and you've been away from there for so long that the concept of age has become abstract. He had pale hair and pale eyes, and the kind of nervous energy that suggested his Navigator gene had never fully settled into his bloodline. The gene in him was still fighting, still trying to force its way out through his skin. You could see it in the way his third eye flickered and pulsed, not yet fully formed, still raw and bleeding at the edges. The training is brutal. You remember this, though the memory feels like it belongs to someone else. You make Kale stare into the warp just as Cassius made you stare into it. You make him feel the rawness of it, the violation of it, the way it presses against the barriers of reality like something trying to push through a door. You make him feel the hunger in it. The hunger for human consciousness, for thought, for the delicious complexity of a mind that can comprehend its own existence. Kyle screams. All the apprentices scream. But Kyle screams longer than the others. Even when you've released him from the meditation chamber and let him collapse onto the floor of the Navigator's rest chamber, even when his body is convulsing and black bile is pouring from his mouth, and his third eye is bleeding so profusely that he can barely see, he's still screaming. It's a low, continuous sound, the sound of something that has been broken and doesn't know how to stop being broken. The long voyage. Brach. The Emperor's judgment hums around you like a living thing. It always does. After 37 years aboard this vessel, you've learned to hear its rhythms the way a sailor hears the sea. The throb of the plasma reactors. The whisper of recycled air through 1,000 miles of ducting. The distant percussion of the drive core pushing through real space. Your quarters are small, monastic, a bunk you rarely use, a meditation chamber where your third eye can rest between jumps. A small shrine to the Emperor that you don't pray to anymore, though you keep it maintained. Ritual matters on a ship this old. You're not in the meditation chamber when it happens. You're in the chart room, reviewing the approach vectors for the next translation. Captain Ven is here too. Ancient, weathered, his uniform hanging loose on a frame that's been slowly disappearing for the past decade. He's been captain for 23 years. Before that, the previous captain. Before that, another. You've buried 8 of them. You'll probably bury him too, though not soon. Some men are built to endure. The storm front is expanding, he says, pointing at the augur readings. Warp activity spiking across 3 sectors. Astropaths are getting nothing but static from the Hadex expanse. Command wants us to hold position until... The ship lurches, not a gentle shift, not the kind of tremor you feel when the engines adjust for drift. This is violent. This is wrong. The hololithic display flickers and dies. Emergency lighting floods the chamber in sickly red. Somewhere above you, Metal screams. Ven's hand goes to the Vox caster on his belt, but before he can speak, you feel it. It comes through the hull like a knife through silk, not through any breach you can see. The chart room is intact, the walls solid, but you feel it. The way you feel the golden path, the way you feel the Imperium itself when you're in translation. It's a presence, a wrongness, a vast breathing, hungry wrongness that has just torn a hole in the fabric of reality itself. Your third eye opens without permission. The pain is immediate and total, like fire poured directly into your skull. You gasp, and the room spins around you. Ven is shouting something, but his voice is very far away. The emergency lighting is too bright. Everything is too bright. You can see the bones in his hand as he reaches for you. You can see the electricity moving through the walls. You can see through the walls. And beyond them, you can see the warp. It's not a place. You've always known that. But knowing and seeing are different things. Knowing is intellectual. Seeing is being unmade. It's a storm of color that has no color. A landscape that exists in 7 dimensions at once. A presence that is so vast and so utterly indifferent to your existence that understanding it would require ceasing to be yourself. It's beautiful. It's horrible. It's calling to you. Navigator, it says, and its voice is the sound of stars dying. Navigator, we see you. We taste you. Come. Come and be more than this fragile meat. Come and... You scream. It starts as a sound and becomes something else entirely. Your body convulses. Your third eye is weeping blood. Actual blood, not the black bile, but deep red human blood that tastes like copper and iron and the inside of your own skull. The chart room is shaking around you. Ven is shouting orders into his Vox, his voice cracking with something that might be fear or might be rage. You can't tell. You can't tell anything anymore because the warp is inside your head and it's showing you things. It shows you yourself, but not as you are. It shows you as you could be. A thing of pure will and hunger, unbound by flesh, infinite and eternal and free from the crushing weight of human limitation. It shows you the other navigators, thousands of them, millions, stretching back through time, and it shows you that they're all still screaming, still trapped, still begging, still being consumed from the inside out, and it shows you that this is the only truth that matters, the only truth that has ever mattered, and no, you don't know where the refusal comes from. You've lived 40 years without defying anything. You've accepted every order, every pain, every moment of impossible agony as the price of your bloodline's service. But something in you, something small and stubborn and absolutely insignificant, says no. You force your third eye closed. The pain of it is worse than opening it. It's like slamming a door on your own consciousness. It's like choosing to be blind in the one way that matters. The warp shrieks at you, an actual sound, audible to your meat ears, a frequency that makes your teeth ache and your bones feel like they're vibrating apart. The presence that tore through the hull is gangry. It's been rebuffed. It's been denied by something it considered insignificant. Your voice is gone. You've screamed it away, but you're still making sound. A raw, grinding noise that comes from your throat, a sound that's not quite human anymore. It's the sound of something being torn in half and refusing to separate completely. The chart room is chaos. Ven has your shoulders, and you realize he's been holding you for how long? Seconds? Minutes? Time feels wrong. Alarms are screaming through the ship's Vox system. The ship is listing. You can feel it in your bones. The Emperor's judgment is wounded. The warp has torn something open, and the void is pouring in. Seal the breach. you hear yourself say. Your voice is destroyed. It sounds like grinding metal. Seal it now. Shut the doors. Shut them all. Shut everything. Ven is staring at you. His hand is shaking. There's blood on his uniform. Yours, probably. Maybe his own. The section's compromised, he says. We're losing people. We're losing. I know, you say. Your third eye is still closed, and it feels like you're suffocating. Like you're dying. The warp is still there, just on the other side of your eyelids, still whispering, still promising things you don't want to hear. But it's not in you anymore. You've locked it out. You've locked yourself in. The long voyage, the breaking of Kyle. The alarm sounds at Evo 47 ship time, and you're already awake. You haven't slept properly in 6 years, not since the Chaos incursion. So you're standing before the Vox. Chime finishes its third pulse. Your quarters are small, austere. A cot. A meditation chamber. A mirror you stopped using 3 years ago. The face that looks back isn't one you recognize anymore. Navigator. Prime Ven's voice crackles through the Vox grill, tight and controlled in that way that means something has already gone very wrong. Navigator, report to the Scoliast chamber immediately. It's Kale. You're moving before he finishes the sentence. The corridors of the Emperor's judgment are a maze of iron and shadow. You've walked them 10,000 times in 40 years. So many times your feet know the way without your mind's permission. Crew members press themselves against the bulkheads as you pass. They always do. They've learned not to meet your eye. The third eye, the one that slowly consumed the left half of your face like a patient cancer, sees more than they want to be seen. The Scoliast chamber is 3 levels down, past the crew quarters, past the meditation halls where junior navigators practice their fractured consciousness. The closer you get, the more you feel it, a wrongness in the warp, like a screen that's been stretched too thin, too wide. It's not your wrongness. It's someone else's fracture, someone else's mind breaking open like an overripe fruit. Kyle. The chamber doors slide open, and the smell hits you first. Vomit and blood and something else, something acrid and wrong, like ozone after a lightning strike. The walls are slick with it. Not just blood. Bile. Cerebrospinal fluid, things that should stay inside the skull. Kale is suspended in the meditation chair, restraints glowing with binding runes. He's 17 years old. You took him as your apprentice 3 years ago, when his bloodline manifested during a routine jump through the Coronis expanse. He was brilliant then. Sharp-minded. Disciplined. The kind of young navigator who might actually survive to see 20. He's not screaming anymore. That's what frightens you most. His mouth is open, yes, but no sound comes out. His eyes, both of them are rolled back so far you can see only the whites. Blood streams from his nose, his ears, the corners of his mouth. His third eye is fully open, and it's still opening, the socket stretching wider than any human bone should allow, the flesh around it splitting like an overripe fruit. He went into the warp on his own, Ven says. His voice is thin, exhausted. The Navigator Prime is older than you, which is saying something. His third eye is scarred, milky with cataracts. Tried a solo transit without authorization. Said he could feel something calling to him. Said he needed to answer. You already know what he heard. You've heard it too, every jump for 40 years. The whispers that come from the deep places. The things that aren't quite chaos, but aren't quite anything else either. The voices that know your name before you're born and will remember it after you're dead. How long has he been like this? Your voice doesn't sound like your own anymore. It's too deep, too many harmonics layered underneath it, like you're speaking through a Voxcaster that's starting to fail. 23 minutes. We pulled him out of the meditation trance, but his consciousness is still partially in the warp. He's not responding to anything. Sedatives don't touch him. We tried to cut the neural link manually, but... Ven gestures at the chair, at Kale's convulsing body. He screams when we try. Not with his mouth, with his mind. 3 technicians had to be sedated. You approach the chair slowly. Kale's body is rigid, every muscle locked tight, the tendons standing out like cords of wire beneath his skin. His fingers are clenched so hard, his nails have cut through his palms. The blood drips steadily onto the chamber floor, each drop hitting with a sound like a bell tolling. His third eye tracks you. Even though his other eyes are rolled back, blind, that third eye focuses on you with horrible clarity. Navigator. Kale's voice comes out wrong, layered with something that isn't quite a voice at all, something that speaks in frequencies human ears weren't meant to hear. Navigator, it's so beautiful. It's so loud. Can you hear it? Can you hear what it's saying? You can hear it. You've always heard it. That's the curse of the bloodline, the price written in your genes before you were even conceived. The warp doesn't just speak to you, it sings. And the song never stops, not even when you close your eyes, not even when you lock your third eye shut and pretend you're human. I hear it, you tell him. Your hand moves to the neural link port at the base of his skull. The connection is glowing red, pulsing with corrupted data. Kale, I need you to listen to me. I'm going to sever the link. It's going to hurt. It's going to hurt more than anything you've ever felt. But I need you to stay conscious. I need you to hold on to your sense of self. Can you do that? It's showing me things, Kale whispers. His body convulses, and for a moment his other eyes roll forward. They're bloodshot, the capillaries completely ruptured. It's showing me my death. It's showing me all of them, every navigator who ever lived, every one of us, burning in the dark, burning and burning and... Kale, look at me. His third eye focuses on you again, and you see the trap too late. He's not just looking at you. He's looking through you, into the part of you that's still connected to the warp, the part that never fully closes, that's always slightly ajar. For just a moment, you feel what he feels. The vastness of it, the infinite wrongness, the sensation of touching something so much larger than yourself that your mind can't even comprehend the scale of it. Your knees buckle. You catch yourself on the armrest of the meditation chair. Don't. The long voyage. The mirror. You don't know how long you've been staring at your reflection. The observation deck viewport shows the void beyond. Stars scattered like ash across black velvet, the Emperor's judgment cutting through space at speeds that should be impossible. Behind you, the ship hums. 40 years of that hum. 40 years of the same thrumming in your bones, the same recycled air in your lungs, the same metal corridors stretching in every direction like the throat of something vast that swallowed you whole and never bothered to digest. The reflection doesn't look like you anymore. Your left eye is still yours, brown, tired, set in a face that hasn't aged the way faces should. The skin around it is lined, yes, but not with years, with something else, with looking, with seeing. The right side of your face is something else entirely now. The third eye has grown. That's not how you would have described it 3 years ago, but it's the only word that fits now. Grown. Expanded. Consumed. Your third eye takes up nearly half your face now, where it used to be a fist-sized protrusion in your brow. Strange, yes, but manageable under a hood or in shadow. It has become vast. The pupil is black and deep and seems to have depth that doesn't match the geometry of your skull. The iris is gold, shot through with threads of silver that move when you're not looking directly at it. The eyelid doesn't close anymore. It hasn't in years. The skin around it has split and reformed so many times that it's become something like scar tissue, pale and thin and threaded with blue veins that pulse with something that isn't quite blood. You reach up and touch it. The sensation is wrong. There's feeling there, but it's not the feeling of skin. It's like touching the surface of still water. Like your fingers are pressing into something that has no bottom, that goes down and never stops. You pull your hand away. In the viewport, you catch movement behind your reflection, a figure in the corridor beyond the observation deck. You turn. It's Quartermaster Voss. He's been on the Emperor's judgment for 18 years now, long enough to remember what you looked like when you first came aboard, young enough that he's still flexible about what he believes. He stops in the corridor and doesn't enter the observation deck. He just stands there, hands at his sides, eyes fixed on you. "Sir," he says, "it's not a question." Voss. You turn fully to face him. The movement is smooth now. You've learned to move in ways that minimize how much of your third eye people have to see. Shouldn't you be in the lower decks? "Maintenance rotation," he says, but his eyes haven't moved from your face. "I was passing through. I saw you here and I thought—" He stops, swallows. "The crew has been talking, sir." "Of course they have. You've felt it for months now. The way they look at you when they think you're not watching, the way conversations stop when you enter a compartment, the way they touch the aquilas on their uniforms when you pass. At first you thought it was fear. You're still not entirely sure it isn't. But it's something else too, something older. Something that predates the Imperium and probably predates humanity itself." "What have they been saying?" you ask, though you already know. You've heard the whispers in the ventilation shafts. You've felt the weight of their thoughts pressing against the edges of your mind during translations when the warp is close and you're not entirely in one place or another. That you're not entirely human anymore, Voss says quietly. That you're becoming something else, something that sees things we can't. Something that guides us not because you're trained to, but because you're meant to. Because the Emperor himself put you here to protect us. He pauses. "They've started leaving offerings at your quarters, sir. Candles, prayers written on parchment. One of the younger ratings gave you a piece of his own hair, woven into a prayer cord. You feel something in your chest that might be revulsion or might be resignation. It's hard to tell the difference anymore. Tell them to stop, you say. I don't think they will, sir, Voss says. He's still not moving. I don't think they can. You've become something they can understand now, something holy. The warp made you that way, and they can see it. The captain sees it too. That's why he doesn't question your navigation anymore. That's why he takes your recommendations without asking for calculations or proof. You turn back to the viewport. Your reflection is still there, watching you with its vast golden eye. You can see Voss reflected beside you, small and human and terrified in a way he doesn't quite understand. I'm still human, Voss, you say. And you mean it. You think you mean it. The words feel true in your mouth, but they don't feel true in the part of you that exists in the warp, the part that's always slightly ajar, always touching something vast and unknowable. Yes, sir, Voss says, and you can hear the lie in his voice. He doesn't believe you. He doesn't want to believe you. He wants you to be something else, something transcendent, something that will protect the Emperor's judgment and guide it safely through the dark spaces between stars. He wants you to be a god. You don't remember when you stopped correcting people on that assumption. You're dismissed, quartermaster, you say. He leaves. You hear his footsteps retreat down the corridor, getting fainter until they're swallowed by the ambient hum of the ship. You're alone again in the observation deck, alone with your reflection and the stars beyond it, and the vast dark spaces between them where things move that have no names in any human language. You reach up and touch your third eye again. This time, you don't pull away. You let your fingers sink into it. Or maybe not sink. Maybe your fingers are just pressing against the surface of something infinite, and the sensation of depth is just your mind trying to make sense of something it was never meant to understand. The feeling is almost peaceful, almost like coming home. In the viewport, you watch your reflection smile. The expression doesn't quite match what your face is doing. It's a moment before you realize that your reflection is smiling wider than your actual mouth is moving. The reflection's third eye is opening wider. Wider than should be possible. The final. Translation. Blind jump. The alarms start soft. You hear them before you feel them. A vibration in the deck plating that travels up through your boots, up your spine, settling somewhere behind your third eye, like a warning you've already known was coming. You're in the observation lounge when the first report reaches the bridge. Captain Vorn's voice crackles through the Vox grill, clipped and formal, the way officers speak when they're about to ask you to do something that will kill you. Navigator, report to the bridge. Now. You don't move immediately. You're watching the stars ahead of the Emperor's judgment, and they're wrong. The constellation you've been guiding by for the past 3 days has shifted. Not moved, shifted, like something is pressing against the fabric of space itself, and the stars are just rippling around the pressure point. You've seen this before. 40 years aboard this ship, and you've learned to read the warp's moods the way old sailors read the ocean. This is not a mood. This is a seizure. The bridge is controlled chaos when you arrive. Officers move between stations, like they're underwater, each movement deliberate, each breath measured. You can feel their fear. It presses against your consciousness like a physical thing, all those minds suddenly aware that something is very wrong with the universe around them. Captain Vorn stands at the tactical display, his weathered face lit by the pale blue glow of the holo projection. The storm is visible there, rendered in swirling red and violent orange. A wound in space that shouldn't exist. How long, you ask? 2 hours, maybe 3? Vorn says, not looking away from the display. The Mechanicus ship that spotted it has already altered course. They're running dark, trying to slip around the edge. Command says we can't afford the delay. You don't ask what command means. You already know. Somewhere in the vast bureaucracy of the Imperium, someone has decided that the cargo in the Emperor's judgment's hold is more important than the lives of 800 crew members and 1 navigator. The cargo is always more important. Reliquaries of Saint Erasmus, they said, the right hand of a blessed martyr, preserved in crystal and wrapped in blessed oils. Bound for a shrine, whirled 3 sectors over. The kind of thing that moves through the Imperium with the weight of faith behind it, and faith doesn't care about odds. Show me the current, you say. Vorn manipulates the display. The holo projection expands, and now you can see the vectors. The warp storm is moving, but not randomly. There's a current to it, a direction. It's pushing toward the trade routes like something hunting, and the Emperor's judgment is directly in its path. A blind jump, you say. It's not a question. Through the storm itself, yes, Vorn says. There's a window, a narrow one, if you can thread us through those currents. I can't. The bridge goes very still. You can feel the officer's attention snap toward you like a physical blow. Vorn's jaw tightens. The warp doesn't have threads in a storm like this. You continue, and your voice sounds strange to your own ears, distant, clinical, like you're describing something that's happening to someone else. There's no golden path. There's just noise, infinite, absolute noise. Anything I try to navigate through that becomes a beacon. The moment we enter, the storm will find us. It will know exactly where we are. Then we go around? One of the junior officers suggests. his voice cracking slightly. "We don't have time," Vorn says quietly. "And the storm is expanding. It's already cutting off the southern approach. North is the only way through. North is directly into the heaviest currents," you say. Yes. You stand there for a long moment, and you could feel the weight of what's being asked settling onto your shoulders. You've guided the Emperor's judgment through hostile space for 4 decades. You've navigated through orc-infested war zones and the fringes of chaos-corrupted sectors. You've brought this ship home 47 times. This will not be the 48th. "I'll need the chamber prepared," you say finally. "Full life support, stimulants, and I want the crew braced for hard translation. When we enter the warp, there's going to be turbulence." Vorn nods, relief and something darker flickering across his face. "How long until you can be ready?" "An hour, maybe less." You turn to leave, then stop. "Captain, if I lose contact with the Golden Path, if the connection breaks, kill the engines immediately. Emergency void anchors. Anything to keep us from drifting further into the storm. Don't wait for me to recover. Don't wait for anything. Just stop moving." "Understood, Navigator." The walk to your chamber takes you through the spine of the ship, past crew quarters and cargo holds, and the endless corridors of the Emperor's judgment. You pass a medical orderly carrying supplies, a pair of ratings arguing about something in low voices, a servitor moving with mechanical precision toward its programmed destination. None of them know. None of them can feel it. The way you can. The pressure building in the warp, the sense of something vast and hungry turning its attention toward your ship. Your chamber is small. It always has been. A single cot, a desk with your personal effects arranged with obsessive precision, a viewport that looks out into space. The walls are lined with prayer scrolls and imperial iconography. The Aquila, the Emperor's visage, verses from the Lectitio Divinitatus, written in careful script. You added most of these yourself over the decades, as if the prayers might somehow protect you from what you know is coming. You sit on the cot and close your eyes. Your third eye opens instead, the one that doesn't see the material world. The one that sees the warp. It's worse than you thought. The storm isn't just a weather pattern, it's a wound. Something has torn through the fabric of reality, and what's bleeding through is old. Ancient. It has the feeling of something that was old when the Imperium was young, and the Imperium is 10,000 years old. You can feel its hunger even from this distance, even through the shielding of the Emperor's judgment's hull. It's looking for consciousness. It's looking for minds bright enough to devour. It's looking for you. You open your third eye fully, and the Navigator's chamber disappears. There is no more chamber. There is no more Emperor's judgment. There is no more you, or rather, there is only you, and you are everywhere, and you have always been everywhere, and you will always be everywhere. The warp does not have geography. It has hunger, your consciousness. And you are using that word because your mind has no other framework, no other language that won't shatter immediately under the weight of what you're experiencing. Your consciousness expands outward like a screen given dimension. You are not moving through the immaterium. You are becoming it. No. You are discovering that you were always part of it, and the body back on the Emperor's judgment was just a useful fiction, a costume you wore to pretend you were separate, contained, small enough to matter. The Golden Path should be there, should be. Navigator training teaches you that the path exists like a rope in absolute darkness, Sanguinius's gift, the Emperor's light, the safe way through the howling void. You reach for it. The rope is on fire. Not metaphorical fire. Not the fire that exists in material space, the fire that consumes flesh and leaves ash. This is fire that burns meaning. It consumes intention. It's burning away the distinction between the path and everything around it, and you realize, your thoughts fragmenting like glass under hammers, that the distinction was always artificial. The path was never separate from the warp. It was always just a thin line of order drawn through chaos by sheer force of will, by countless navigators before you, their bloodlines feeding that line, reinforcing it, dying to maintain it. And now it's burning. Something notices you. You feel it, the way a flea might feel the attention of an elephant, except the elephant is made of screaming, and the flea is your entire self, and there is no distance between you and the thing that's looking at you, because distance is a material concept, and you are not material anymore. It doesn't have a name. Names are for things that exist in one place at one time. This thing exists in all places and all times, and some places and times that don't exist anymore, and some that haven't existed yet, and some that are existing in directions that material geometry doesn't have words for. It is old. Older than the Imperium, older than humanity, older than the species that came before humanity, and older than the species that ate them. It is curious about you. You feel it reaching. Not with hands. Hands are material, but with something like attention, like intention, like the way a thought reaches toward understanding. It touches your consciousness, and the sensation is cold, beyond cold. Cold that is the absence of heat and the absence of the concept of heat. Cold that is the default state of existence before creation bothered to make anything warm. Taste of copper and rust. And something older than metal, something that predates the periodic table, something that tastes like numbers that don't fit into mathematics. Sound that isn't sound, isn't vibration, is instead the feeling of meaning being torn apart, of language breaking down into component parts, and those parts breaking down further and further until there's nothing. Sound doesn't work here. Screaming doesn't work here. You don't have lungs anymore. You don't have a throat. You have never had lungs or a throat. You are a pattern of thought suspended in infinite space, and this thing is looking at you. And it is I, curious. And curiosity here means consumption. Something else notices you. Then something else. Then something else. The warp is full of things. You've always known this theoretically. Every navigator knows this. They teach it in the Scholastia. The immaterium is not empty. It is teeming. It is thick with entities and presences and consciousnesses that exist in states that material minds cannot properly conceptualize. They tell you this, so you'll fear it, so you'll hold tight to the golden path. So you'll understand that the only safety is in the light of the Emperor, in the narrow way carved through the chaos. But you never knew it. Not like this. There are thousands of them, millions, billions. They layer over each other like sediment, like the accumulated weight of every thought that ever went wrong, every consciousness that broke under pressure, every mind that reached too far and was eaten for its ambition. They are stacked and compressed and folded into each other, and they are all aware of you now, and they are all very, very interested. One of them was human once. You can feel it. Feel the shape of its old mind, the structure of thoughts that used to be constrained by a skull and a spine. It reaches for you with something like recognition. Join us, it seems to say, except it doesn't say anything because language is material and this is not. Join us and understand. Join us and be complete. Join us and never have to be separate again. You feel the appeal of it. That's the horrible part. That's what they don't tell you in the Scholastia. Or maybe they do, and you just didn't understand until now. The warp isn't just horrible. It's seductive. It's the promise that you could stop being this fragmented thing, this consciousness trapped in a body, this mind that has to exist in one moment at a time. You could be everything at once. You could touch every thought that ever was. You could be part of something vast and infinite and No. The word comes from somewhere. From the body. From the thing that's still connected to you, still tethered to the material universe by the thinnest thread of Navigator training and genetic imperative and sheer stubborn refusal to dissolve. The Emperor's judgment is still out there. Somewhere. In a direction that material space has a name for, even if you don't. The ship is still falling through the warp, still falling toward the wound in reality, still falling toward the storm. And you are holding the path. Or the path is holding you. Or you and the path are the same thing and have always been the same thing and will always be the same thing as long as you don't let go. You clench. There is no clenching here. There are no hands to clench. There is only will. There is only the absolute refusal to be consumed. The absolute insistence on remaining yourself. On remaining separate. The final translation. The reentry is not gentle. Your body doesn't recognize the shift from immaterium to real space because your body has stopped being a reliable source of information. What remains of your nervous system fires in patterns that have no names. Your spine arches so violently that for a moment you're certain something inside you will snap. And then it does snap. And then it doesn't matter because the pain exists in a dimension your brain can no longer process with anything resembling coherence. The Navigator's chamber shudders. You feel it through what used to be your skin. The golden glow of the pathlight flickers, stabilizes, holds. You have done it. The Emperor's judgment has crossed the impossible gulf. 43 souls remain aboard. 43 survivors who will walk on solid ground again, who will see their families or drink recaf or die in their beds instead of screaming in the void. The math is simple. The math is always simple. Billions die so that thousands can live. Thousands die so that hundreds can survive. You are one. They are many. The calculus is written in the Emperor's law and burned into the Imperium's bones. Your third eye is opened so wide now that you can feel the weight of it, the physical mass of it, pressing down through the socket like a stone set in your skull. The membrane that once separated it from the rest of your vision has dissolved entirely. You see in layers now. You see the chamber in visible light. The brass fixtures, the amber fluid in the suspension tank still rippling from the jump. The servitor standing motionless in the corner with its mechanical eyes reflecting nothing. But you also see the chamber in the warp's light, the way the walls are simultaneously thin and infinitely thick, the way the servitor's flesh is a temporary arrangement of matter that could be rearranged with a thought, the way your own body is. Don't think about your body. Your breathing is wrong, too shallow, too fast, like your lungs have forgotten what oxygen is supposed to taste like. The air recyclers hum their mechanical hymn. 72 hours since you entered the immaterium. 17 hours of subjective time. 3,000 years of experienced agony compressed into a space that your mind can no longer reliably map. You have aged and remained unchanged. You have died and continued. You have been unmade and reassembled by forces that do not understand the concept of consent. The chamber door hisses. Navigator! Commander Voss enters, and you feel his presence before you see him. A sharp point of human consciousness, relatively speaking, a small, bright thing that hasn't been touched by what you've touched. He's aged. When did he age? The last time you saw him clearly, he was younger. Or perhaps you've only been gone for 17 hours, and your perception of time has become a weapon that wounds you with every moment that passes. Navigator, he says. His voice is careful, measured. The way you might speak to something that was once a friend but has become an animal. The ship has translated successfully. All engines holding. No hull breaches reported. You try to form words. Your throat produces sounds that might be words or might be the death rattle of something that was human and is becoming something else. Voss doesn't flinch. He's been your commanding officer for 37 years. He's watched you change. He's watched the third eye consume your face, watched your hair turn white and then silver, and then something that isn't quite a color anymore. He's learned to speak to you as though you're still capable of understanding human speech, even though understanding requires a framework of reference that you abandoned somewhere in the warp, in a place where mathematics breaks down and causality becomes a suggestion rather than a law. The storm you manage. Your voice is not your voice, it's layered. There are other voices underneath it, whispering in frequencies that shouldn't exist. Did we clear it? We cleared it, Voss confirms. Your calculations were precise. The jump sequence you provided held through the worst of the currents. We lost 3 compartments to warp bleed, but the crew sealed the bulkheads. Casualties were minimal. Minimal. 3 compartments. 47 people, probably. Maybe more if anyone was in the corridors when the seals went down. You could calculate it if you cared. You could close your third eye and access the manifest and add the numbers and arrive at a figure that would have meant something to you once, when you were still the kind of person who believed that numbers could be meaningful. Now the number 3 and the number 47 and the number 0 all feel like the same concept viewed from different angles. The pain in your head is not pain anymore. It's a permanent state of being. Like gravity. Like the color of the void, it simply is. And you move through it, the way a fish moves through water, without question, without the luxury of complaint. Good, you say. And you mean it. The word contains multitudes now. Good means the Emperor's will has been served. Good means the Imperium survives another day. Good means you have paid another installment on the debt your bloodline owes, the debt written in your genes before you were born, the debt that will never be satisfied because it grows faster than you can bleed it away. Voss is watching you with an expression you can't quite parse. Concern, maybe. Or fear. Or something more complex. The look of a man watching a monument crack, watching something vast and terrible begin to understand its own vastness and terribleness. He's been around navigators his entire career. He knows what they are. He knows what they cost. But knowing and witnessing are different things. And he's witnessing something now that's beginning to move beyond the acceptable parameters of what a navigator should be. The Scholastia has sent word, he says. They're requesting a full report on the jump sequence. Navigator, Master Yoren wants to understand your methodology. Methodology. The word is almost funny. You don't have methodology anymore. You have instinct, or what used to be instinct before. Instinct became indistinguishable from madness. You have the memory of pathways through the warp, except the memories are also predictions. And the predictions are also experiences you haven't lived yet and will never live, because time is a flat circle and an infinite spiral and a point of singular density all at once. Tell them, you say slowly, that I will provide the calculations when I am able, when you are able, when the tremors in your hands stop, when your vision settles into a single coherent image, instead of 17 simultaneous contradictory images. When you can. The final translation. The alarm sounds like a prayer spoken backwards. You hear it through the reinforced walls of the navigator's chamber, that ululating wail that means something in the void has decided to stop pretending the laws of physics matter. Your hands are shaking again. They haven't stopped shaking for 3 weeks. Not since Kale, not since you had to feel his mind fracture like ice under a boot while you held him suspended in the golden light. The tremors have their own rhythm now. You've stopped trying to suppress them. Resistance is a luxury for navigators who still believe they're human. The Vox crackles. Captain Vorn's voice, thin with terror. Navigator, we have a warp storm bearing down on our position. ETA 40 minutes. Command is authorizing an immediate blind jump. You don't answer. You're looking at the view-in portal, the reinforced crystal that lets you see into the Imperium without going mad. Mostly. The thing is, you've already gone mad. That's the secret no one at the Scholastia ever admits. Madness isn't a destination, it's a process. It's a slow dissolution of the boundary between what you are and what the warp is, one voyage at a time, until you can't remember if you're piloting the ship or if the ship is piloting you. The storm is visible now. It's not a storm the way a normal human would understand storms. It's not clouds or wind or rain. It's a wound in reality. It's the Immaterium's true face pressing against the membrane of the material universe, and where they meet, things cease to be coherent. You can see it because your third eye doesn't see the way human eyes see. Your third eye sees probability. Your third eye sees the places where existence gets thin and desperate. Your third eye is weeping. That's not metaphorical. The fluid that seeps from the socket, the one that consumed half your face 7 years ago, the one that has continued to spread like a cancer made of pure perception, is running down your cheek in rivulets of something that isn't quite tears. It smells like ozone and copper and the inside of a tomb that's been sealed for 10,000 years. Navigator? Vorn again, desperate now. Navigator, we need your calculations. We need to know if we can thread the jump. Can you thread it? Can you guide a ship through a warp storm that looks like God's hemorrhage? You've done it before. You've done it 1,000 times. You've done it in futures that haven't happened yet, and pasts that ended before you were born. Time is a flat circle, and an infinite spiral, and a point of singular density all at once. And you're standing at the center of it, bleeding from every place that can bleed, and you laugh. It starts as something small, something caught in your throat like a cough, but it builds. It builds because it's funny. It's so perfectly, cosmically funny. Your bloodline was chosen 10,000 years ago for one purpose: to navigate the impossible, to find the golden path through the Immaterium when no other path exists. Your ancestors did it. Your ancestors did it so well that they became something more than human. Or less. The distinction stopped mattering around the time your third eye opened. And you're going to do it one more time. I can thread it, you say into the Vox. Your voice doesn't sound like your voice anymore. It sounds like something speaking through your voice, or your voice speaking through something else. The captain doesn't seem to notice. Or he does, and he doesn't care, because in 40 minutes the warp storm will consume his ship and everyone on it if you don't. Stand by for final approach, Vorn says. You stand. Your legs are sticks wrapped in skin that's been sitting in a nutrient bath too long. The chamber around you is exactly as it always is, the golden light casting everything in sickly amber, the suspension field humming at a frequency that makes your teeth ache, the warp sight apparatus hanging above your head like the sword of Damocles. Except it's not hanging anymore. It's embedded in your skull. It has been embedded in your skull for so long that you've forgotten where it ends and you begin. The crew is filing into the observation deck. You can feel them through the walls, through the ship's bones, through the connection that binds a navigator to their vessel. They're afraid. They should be afraid. They're about to trust their lives, all 3,742 of them, to a mind that stopped being entirely theirs about 5 years ago. You close your human eye. The third eye opens wider, wider than it should be able to open, wider than is physically possible. The pain is exquisite. It's the pain of watching 17 simultaneous contradictory images collapse into a single, coherent picture. It's the pain of understanding that the picture is still 17 simultaneous contradictory images, and you're just learning to hold them all at once. The warp doesn't look like anything from the inside. The warp looks like everything. It looks like the face of your mother on the day she couldn't touch your face anymore. It looks like Kale's screams when you severed his connection mid-journey and felt his consciousness scatter across 1,000 light-years. It looks like Captain Vorn, young again, before the decades wore him down to something barely alive. It looks like the Emperor, distant and dying on his throne. And it looks like you, standing in the Navigator's chamber. And it looks like you standing outside the chamber watching yourself. And it looks like something vast and hungry, pressing its attention against your mind like a predator learning the shape of its prey. Golden path is locked, you say. You don't remember deciding to speak. I have the route. I have. The ship lurches. The warp storm hits like a fist. The Emperor's judgment convulses. Somewhere in the lower decks, something catastrophic happens. You feel it as a distant throb, the way a man might feel an itch on his body while his mind is elsewhere. Your body is still in the chair. Your body is still breathing. Your body is still bleeding from its third eye. But you are not in your body anymore. You are in the warp. You are everywhere and nowhere and everything and nothing. You are the space between spaces, the thought that thinks itself, the hunger that devours its own consumption. You are moving through corridors of probability, stepping over thresholds where up and down have forgotten their meaning. The golden path stretches before you, not a path made of light, but